groups. It just doesn't make any sense to try to take the federal functions of the EPA and relegate them to the states.
Right. Just, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I used to be a Boy Scout Scoutmaster. My son's an Eagle Scout. I had several young men get Eagle Scout when I was a Scoutmaster. And my personal view is we taught our boys leave no trace.
Yeah.
You know, when we go camping and we leave, we pack everything out. And I used to try to make it like a military exercise. I'm going to have this group over here and this group over here. And when we're done, you try to find evidence that this group was even here. And so it kind of got the boys. We didn't dig fire pits and we didn't rake back the leaves, and they're going to be calling. So, and we have to, you know, we have to listen.
And in terms of costs of regulations as well, I mean, it's worth considering that the cost of healthcare that's associated with problems with air and water is extremely high. And so you need to take that into consideration when it comes to arguing against regulations, because if you get rid of the regulations, healthcare costs are going to skyrocket because people are then going to have problems with chronic bronchitis and asthma and heart disease and various other health problems that are associated with pollution in the air and water.
Yeah, air pollution has also been has been found to cause SIDS and increase infant mortality as well. So that is also something to
if you're pro-life, that's an issue that you can't.
Yeah.
And of course, with the veterans issue, I mean, remember Camp Lejeune and all the problems with the water quality.
Exactly.
You know? So, I mean, it really strikes everyone.
Exactly. And look at some of the Gulf War syndrome. Veterans are coming back, have no idea what's causing their problems. The only thing they can associate it with is when Saddam Hussein set the oil wells on fire. And they were disposing of all kinds of stuff, no telling what kind of chemicals or trash or whatever they were disposing. So yeah, I agree with you, exactly.
And that's actually a really good segue to, I think, our next talking point, which is about the proposed Atlantic Coast Pipeline. Sir, it actually struck me when you said that you teach Eagle Scouts and that, you know, one of the big things for you is leave no trace. And I'm just going to tell you this, sir. If your Eagle Scouts came up with this plan, you would fail them for that task 100,000 times. And it's a little bit funny, you know, right now, but it's really not. The plan for this thing is absolutely devastating. I was so disappointed to hear that Mr. Hudson recently signed the letter with the other 5 congressmen in support of this thing. And I can only conclude that, because I know like Dominion and Duke have really great marketing materials, and I know they've got some really smooth guys, but I can only conclude that Mr. Hudson and your office do not truly understand the devastating impact that this thing is going to have on North Carolina residents. We're currently urging Mr. Hudson to oppose the pipeline. I know that that's going to be a little hard right now. If he absolutely can't do that, which we feel is a terrible thing, then we have to have him commit to fighting for the absolute negative impact on not only North Carolina residents, but residents up and down the entire 600-mile length of the proposed pipeline. It's not just about us in this state. And I want to make it very clear that as an opponent of the ACP, Mr. Hudson would gain an incredible amount of support up and down 3 states. I don't think it can be ignored, because we absolutely intend to make sure that everybody across this country hears about it more than Standing Rock. One of the first and foremost things that I want you to take away from this is that this pipeline will fail, and when it does, it is dangerous. This pipeline is proposed at 42 inches in diameter. I want you to think about the size of that pipeline for a minute. That's a big one. It would be 600 miles long, and one of the things to understand is that no project of this scale has ever even been attempted, particularly in the kind of topography we're talking about. The geological surveys have been absolutely inadequate, and what they do not find is the thing that you need most for such a pipeline, and that's stable rock bed through the entire length of the pipeline. What we're looking at through that topography, through the Rocky Mountains, through the Allegheny Ridge, we're looking at schist and karst geography. We're looking at stuff that when we start messing it up, it's going to destabilize. It's going to cause problems deep under the earth just trying to lay this pipe.
You didn't mean Rocky Mountains, did you?
I'm sorry, no.
The
no.
rocks in the mountains.
It's the rocks, yes, I'm sorry. The Blue Ridge, Appalachian Mountains, I'm not enough caffeine this morning, sorry.
You're thinking we.
There's a bunch of these things.
Well, actually, link in terms of the mountain range.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
The topography is just, like, from an engineer's standpoint, and if you want, I'll follow this up with an email and send you some links to some of the surveys that we've seen from independent researchers, because please keep in mind, Dominion and Duke are using their own guys when they do these studies. It's going to be unstable. The solid rock beds are not there, and if they build there, it's going to be unstable. And adding to the problem of the danger is not just the pipeline, but the compressor stations along the way. These are a nightmare. They're very dangerous. In order to regulate the pipeline's pressure, of course, they regularly spew methane and radon and other things into the air. Because, you know, if there's a lot of pressure in this big pipeline, you have to regulate it. You have to open up a valve. That, in these compressor stations, looks like a little smokestack, and it blows gas at regular intervals. And residents in towns where these compressor stations exist report health problems that include birth defects, respiratory and heart diseases, and cancer. I promise if Mr. Hudson wants to continue having his career, he does not want to be associated with something that causes birth defects.
No.
The Dominion is saying that they are only going to need like one of these compressor stations in Robeson County. But independent studies shows that these need to be built about every 50 to 100 miles. So it's almost a guarantee that they're going to need more. That the compressor stations alone will affect at least 3 times more people than Dominion is estimating at the moment. And just to give you some numbers here, because I'm not talking out my booty. PHMSA reports over 11,000 compressor incidents that killed 371 people, injured 1,378, and cost over $6 billion between the years 1996 2015. I knew they were expensive, but that number, I did a double take count at all the numbers, and it's a lot of money when these things fail. And we think that cost in dollars, and most especially lives, is just unacceptable. We can do better. We can do this stuff better. You know, this thing's going to poison water. When it fails, there are so many beautiful streams and rivers and aquifers, and when it fails, back to that methane and radon breaks down into radioactive waste. We can't get rid of it. And when that gets into the water, this is going to cause a chain reaction. It starts with fish and plants, and it grows to the other animals and creatures and things that eat them, that live on them, and that live on that water. And that ultimately is us, too. Just as in a little aside, I used to live in Maryland. And of course, you know, we've got the beautiful Chesapeake Bay watershed there. And of course, this would, in fact, affect the Chesapeake Bay watershed, because one jag of it goes out to the Virginia coast.
Right.
Back in the 90s, maybe you heard about this, there was an outbreak of a thing called Fisteria. The Purdue chicken farms, and this is a little separate, but it points to this chain reaction. The Purdue chicken farms had problems with their cesspools. And I'm not sure if you understand what that means. That means a big pile of
A lot
chicken
of
poo.
chicken farms in Richmond County. So.
Yeah. So that started seeping into the water. And the fish and the crabs and the things that a lot of people on the Chesapeake Bay make their living on started popping up with lesions and dying, and people started getting sick, and it didn't take long. Fortunately, you know, there are some really great land and water protectors there in Baltimore and in Maryland, and the Chesapeake Bay is a very highly protected area because it's very important. There is no other place like it in America. It's unique. They were able to fix that problem. But I never want to see in my lifetime again something that starts a chain reaction that's potentially dangerous and deadly as that. I think one of the worst things about it is that it threatens some of our most vulnerable people. If you look at where this thing is designed to go, it cuts right through some of our most popular and vulnerable populations through 8 counties, including indigenous people, African Americans, and even senior citizens. We've got a population of up to 38% of indigenous people. That includes the Haliwa Saponi tribe, the Kahari tribe, the Tuscarora tribe, and the Lummi tribe. They're state-recognized tribes. Unfortunately, they're not federally recognized. And so we're in a position where we protect our tribal people, but the federal government isn't. So we're gonna have to work harder to make sure that this thing doesn't roll over them. They've lived in these places since before we could call them America. You know, this is their backyard. The proposed plan doesn't take into account the lack of archaeological surveys that's needed to protect their sacred spaces and places of cultural importance. I think nobody, you know, I wouldn't want somebody building something like this in the cemetery where my mom is buried. And, you know, there are some areas where this pipeline would go through where we're kind of doing exactly that. And that's just horrible. I can't imagine a sort of a worse indignant thing to do to people that we protect. There's also a higher population of African American residents, up to 58% in one of these counties. And 8 of the counties have a median household income below the statewide median. This thing is definitely targeting our poorest people. So I want to make this very clear. These are our people. They are already vulnerable. And supporting this pipeline means harming them. It means harming our state-recognized tribes and our black communities. And I want you to think for a minute, you know, Dominion do talk about you know, how valuable this is, how it's going to boost in you know, money and business and things, but it's not. It's going to be too expensive for most companies to tap into. It costs at least $2 million just to make a tap into it. It's not going to bring new business that doesn't already have a tap nearby. And it's going to reduce property values. And so I want you to imagine for a minute, because we've been doing a lot of facts and figures here, but I want you to just think, you know, maybe this is something that you actually have already, you've started in your life. You've worked for years of your life. You've got a family, you've raised a family, you've bought a house. You've got a little patch of land, and one of these days you're going to get to retire, okay? And maybe you want to do a little gentleman farming or a little bit of gardening, or just enjoy the solitude and the quiet and not having to work in your own little land. Well, as soon as the FERC gives these guys a permit, they can use eminent domain to get what they want, okay? And if they can't get they have done it before. They did it in Nelson County. On the way, like I think in 2015, or they tried to. I'm not sure if they actually managed it. They tried. You can look into the story of Heidi Cochran. But you know, so imagine you've just gotten to the place where you've got, you know, the kids are out of the nest and your golden years are coming, and then here comes this pipeline, and this is what you're in for. First, for the first few years, there's bulldozers and trucks and equipment coming through your place like just 9 to 5 all the time. It's banging, it's scraping, and they cut at least 125-foot wide swath in order to install this gigantic pipeline, okay? And that doesn't even take into account all the roads and access ways that they're going to have to build to get to it, all right? So that goes on. Maybe you're okay for at least 2 to 3 years. You've got this gigantic, ugly gash that, you know, looks like a construction site out in your backyard. That's going to take years to heal up. Then they get the pipeline in, and it gets going. And heaven help you if you're near one of these compressor stations, because this thing is a big piece of machinery. It rolls up and it starts just churning and pumping, and you can hear it grinding all day. And then
mobile?
No, it's just, but they're so loud that people within at least around 50 miles diameter are going to hear this thing. They're going to smell this thing. It might even be bigger. And the people who are affected by it encompass an even larger radius. So, you know, now it's noisy, and to be a little crass, these things smell like God-passed gas. They spew methane, and I'm sure you know what methane does, right? So, you know, now this methane thing is spewing, and the equipment's gone, but you can't build that garden. You can't do any farming. You can't put even a tree there. You can't put a storage shed on it. You can't touch anything on top of this pipeline. You can't sell it. Nobody wants it. And so you watch your golden years slip by, so different than you envisioned, a worthless patch of ugly grass in your backyard in the place of your dream. A snake of a gas line in your backyard waiting to blow. You know, we can't do this to people who've worked for North Carolina and are now ready to settle down and enjoy everything they've worked for. And I think perhaps the worst thing, the most invasive thing that doesn't only affect North Carolina residents, but also affects every single person in this country and potentially everybody in the world, is the development of this pipeline increases our dependence on fracked natural gas. This is devastating. The gas coming through the pipeline comes from the fracking fields of West Virginia and Pennsylvania. These places are already devastated by the fracking fields and pipelines that have been made there. And by making this pipeline, we encourage them, the companies from which Dominion would be buying the gas, only to make more and to harm some of our neighbors to the north even further. This move would encourage a fossil fuel collection method with a life cycle that is far more harmful than coal. It would reduce North Carolinians' choices about energy investment. And I believe that it is tantamount to a major blow to North Carolina's clean energy movement. And this is important. We are second in the nation for clean power. And we are poised to profit from a revolutionary new way to provide energy, not just to the United States. I have a vision, really, I have this dream, that we want to be independent of OPEC. We want to be independent of the Middle East. We have a whole new industry of clean energy and innovation. We can be the ones selling the energy. We can be the ones profiting from a great change in the world and never have to question how safe it is. You're never ever going to see somebody being born with birth defects because we started using solar power. Never. And the possibility for profit is just absolutely unlimited, really. And I want to see North Carolina in that driver's seat. I want to see North Carolina innovating that, not just for its own people, but for the entire world, and making a statement that says, you know, this is the kind of world that we want to live in. So ultimately, and this isn't even everything, I could go on all day long about the problems with this, but just this alone, it's too much to ignore. The ACP will cause irreparable damage to the environment, to land value, and the lives of North Carolina residents. So once again, we are urging Mr. Hudson to publicly oppose the pipeline. We realize that he has recently endorsed it. We think that he's got an out. You know, if he says now he's gotten further educated, but if he absolutely can't, then he must commit to doing everything in his power to ensure that if it moves forward, he will hold Dominion, Duke, and Piedmont accountable by demanding adequate DEIS from the FERC, by making sure that the pipeline is maintained at every step of the way and even throughout its life. And ultimately, I want to know, is he going to commit to protecting our people that way?
And I would just add that Duke Energy already has a bad track record when it comes to protecting the North Carolina environment, with things like the coal ash ponds, poisoning wells all over the state. So it's really not sensible for Representative Hudson to passively accept any research that's released by Duke Energy about this project without doing more research and fact-checking the claims that Duke and Dominion are making.
And I want to, push on something she said a little bit. She mentioned the karst topography and it's unstable. So let me expound on that a little bit. Maybe aware of Mammoth Caves out in Kentucky, one of the biggest cave complexes in the world. That is because the rocks out there dissolve. All right, and I've lived in Florida for some time, so we're very familiar with what happens when your rocks dissolve. We got sinkhole palooza down there. When your ground fails because it's made of limestone and on occasion it dissolves, the failures are spectacular. It's not just damage. One of those happens in the oil's pipeline track, and it doesn't even have to happen right under it. It can be adjacent, something nearby, and it just causes the ground level to shift a little bit, and you crack your pipeline. And then you've also got nearby a direct drain down to groundwater that is draining out of. We had a lot of groundwater problems down there in Florida with this karst topography, which is also present along this pipeline's route. Because again, anything that goes on the ground, if there's a spill, shows up in everybody's tap half an hour later. Okay, so the damage it's quick, it spreads very quickly. There's a lot of people who are gonna notice. There's fantastic visuals when you have a sinkhole opening up beneath something. It's gonna get all over the news. It's gonna be spectacular when it fails. It's not gonna be like, oop, we got a part of the leak back there. It is spectacular failures. And when there is a spectacular failure, everybody who is associated with it has some problems with their career later on. So that's something to really consider if you're talking about building a pipeline in places where we know the rocks dissolve to make some of the biggest caves in the world because it makes big holes. Something to keep in mind.
We're really delighted that Hudson is on the Energy Committee, and this is where we can do things that will save us, will rescue us. So we're asking him to support sustainable renewable energy. According to the North Carolina Sustainable Energy Association, there were equivalent of 34,294 full-time jobs here in North Carolina associated with that association in 2016. And the sustainable energy companies in North Carolina have $6.4 billion in revenue. That's why we're number 2 in the solar energy industry, and it's something that we can do that is very positive, very helpful, and very much supported by all of us small people here, So we are asking him that he support HR 627, that's currently with the Energy and Commerce Committee, that will support the renewable energy and energy conservation at schools. Schools are our future, they're our kids, they're what we're looking forward to supporting us in our old age. So this bill will help the schools know that the programs are available, and if we make sure that this passes, please make sure that the programs are funded. We'd also like to ask that you support HR 1090, which is to be extended renewable tax credits. North Carolina had eliminated their 35% state tax credit program in 2015. There was $126 million paid out in this program, which spurred the development of the solar farms that we currently enjoy, and it motivated citizens to invest in their sustainable energy. That generated $717 million in spending, according to the North Carolina Department of Revenue. That's a huge economy boost, and it's something that's very proactive and very much needed, and will offer some solutions to opposing the pipeline. The federal tax credit will allow continued growth of this sustainable energy market. It will provide green jobs and will reduce the climate impact from the fossil fuels. It's been estimated there are only going to be 18 permanent jobs associated with the pipeline. Sustainable energy, we just talked 34,000 jobs. That's a huge difference.
And just to clarify, this is something to take into account with like Dominion and Duke's marketing materials, because I'm not going to come out and call them liars, but they're really, they're very careful about the facts that they present. So it is true, in fact, that initially there will be thousands of jobs out of the pipeline, but what you need to understand is that those jobs are often not local, they are temporary, and they have to do with the actual construction of the pipeline. Once that's over, those jobs are gone.
Right, just those 18 people opening up the pressure valves.
Yes, yes.
So that's not a win-win for us. If we have 1090, it'll reinstitute and extend the commercial and residential installation tax credits with the geothermal heat pumps, fuel cells, micro turbines, small wind, and combined heat and power. All clean energy, sustainable energy. And it will provide the same tax benefits as enjoyed by solar for all of these. Without those tax credits, we project that there'll be a 30 to 40% decline in this field, and this field is just getting going and supporting a lot of jobs. So we would ask that he would support HR 1090.
I'm sorry, let me get that down. Just without the tax credits, a 30% decline? Is that
30 to 40% sales decline in 2017 is projected. And I could send you the link to that information as well. We don't understand what's going on with HR 1109. It's to amend Section 203 of the Federal Power Act. Why is Representative Hudson supporting that? If it's about removing barriers, what are those barriers? There's been no summary of the bill made available to us, and it sounds like, you know, we should know what's going on with that. And the last thing that I'd ask him to oppose is HR 117, the Energy Efficiency Free Market Act, that will abolish the conservation standards. I think everything we've said here today shows how much we are supporting conservation standards for everyone's future and good health.
HR 117?
117.
Are you gonna give him a copy of your notes?
Yes, I will.
Or I'll share with you my email if you want to, and you can do a whole lot more detail, and I'll just forward it to whoever needs to see it.
Okay.
That way you'll have my contact.
Well, you're gonna take down our information for the Teletown Hall tomorrow, so we can
Yeah.
just include our email addresses along with
I'll just
our
send out a
phone
group
numbers.
email with my contact information, and you can just reply to that.
Sure.
Cool.
And another positive thing that we're asking you would do is to support funding for the EPA and the DOE national laboratories in the budget process. That's huge, that the program on energy efficiency and renewable energy, it's our clean technology incubator, so we have to have the people making the scientific discoveries and the process that goes along with it, rather than limiting spending on science and research. It creates a so-called valley of death, where we have the discovery process, and then we have to yet to create the profit margin, sustainable profit margin. And by having the support of the funding, we'll be able to cover that gap and allow this research and forward motion to continue. And last of all, we'd like to invite Representative Hudson to attend the Sustainable Sandhills Conference that Summit's going to be held at Fayetteville Technical College on March 10th and 11th. Duke Energy will be there with their sustainable efforts, which they do have, and they are one of the owners of the solar fields, the solar farms that we have here.
Say, invite to sustainable, I'm sorry.
Sustainable Sandhills
Okay.
Summit. That'll be March 10th and 11th at Fayetteville Technical College. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to extend another invitation
Okay.
as well. Around the same time, and I'll get back to you on the exact dates of this, a group of us with another organization will begin a march along the 250 miles of the ACP that intend to go down in North Carolina. So it's going to take about 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure that the walk will be here in Fayetteville around the 9th or 10th. I'll verify that for you. Hopefully, I think it's going to get a lot of people walking and following and notice, and we'd love if Mr. Hudson or some of his staff could show up, walk a little ways with us, make the appearance, and just take a look and see how many people are really concerned about it and excited about the chance to come and speak about it, because I think you might be surprised.
Sure. I don't know when Congress is in session in March, so I'll have to just check and see if that's part of the district work.
Sure.
If not, most likely he'll send me or another staff.
Well, it'd be great to see you again.
That would be great.
Yeah, if somebody could just check Google when the Atlantic Coast Pipeline merged, it was, I think.
That can be my contribution.
And I figure we must be getting close to it. I mean,
I think so.
right
Yeah,
now.
it's
Quarter to. We have a lot of other issues.
Yes.
We just thought it would make most sense to focus on one of our major issues today,
No,
which is
that's smart.
environmental.
That's smart.
You'll be
Of
back.
course, you know where we are. You got a telephone
Yeah,
number, you got
and
everything
actually
else.
that was gonna be one of our very last things. We wanna know when we can schedule our next discussion, because we want to let you and Mr. Hudson know, we're committed to showing up. We're committed to helping do legwork. You know, if you guys are committed to helping protect the environment, to help protect, North Carolinians, I know it can be hard to find staff, it can be hard to fund staff. If I remember correctly, there's a hiring
You mean they fund
freeze.
staff?
Yeah, exactly. So you've got a whole giant group of people at your disposal to do. We're here to volunteer to help do research. We're here to volunteer to come in and help you with talking points, or, to help you stay aware too, because there's just as much stuff on the table for you guys as there is for us to slog through. So if you're there for us, we're there with you. And again, we want to know when we can come back and talk to you again.
Well, obviously, it would be harder for all of you to fit to my schedule, so if you guys want to come up with a to me, I'll make sure I mark it off on my calendar, because I'm probably a little bit more flexible than 10 or 15, 20 people. So I'll be more.
Well,
happy to
we
do
represent a
that.
much larger group of
Well,
people.
yes.
And
yeah,
so if we
absolutely.
could not come at whatever time was, designated,
Right.
probably another 15 of us could.
We can get to know your
Yeah.
meeting or.
And I'm very flexible. I work from home, so if it's like 1 hour out of the day, I'm there. So, I mean, if there's a particular day of the week that is more flexible for you, or, I mean, we're willing to set up kind of a regular thing and keep in touch with you. Like, we're going to be here for
That
a
is,
while.
I have absolutely no qualms with that. I would like to, right before this, in the 1st of March, Monday mornings is kind of bad for us. We have conference calls and we're trying to get started from the weekend from people calling. But a Monday afternoon or a Tuesday, when is the 10th and 11th? Do you know what days those
It's
are
a
on?
Friday and Saturday.
Okay, so anytime that week before that, if you would
All
like,
right.
you just tell me and I'll make
Well, okay, well,
it.
what about the Tuesday before that
Okay.
day then?
Does anybody have a calendar and can tell me?
I
what
can do
day?
that. I'm be so much productive today.
The 7th of March?
The 7th?
That's a Tuesday.
You'll say back here at the same time?
On spring break, I can come on at any point
Yeah,
during the
yeah,
day.
yeah.
I'll be gone
break.
then,
Yeah,
but you guys can.
There'll be other members.
Right.
March
I will,
7th.
if there's any reason why I can't, I'll let you know, or even if we can't get a room or anything like that. Of course, Chris Johnson, who she couldn't be in here this morning, she is, don't know if it's flu or whatever, but I told her to stay in her office and talk on the phone and stay away from me.
We want to be proactive about everything.
Did we come up with a time on the 7th?
11.
At the same time.
In the future, it might also be good to try to have an evening
Yeah.
meeting, because a lot of people told me that they really wanted to be here today, but since they have, full-time jobs, they aren't able to take off work
Right.
to be here.
Despite the
So,
prevailing opinion, we're not paid to do this.
Great.
And then we have full-time jobs, and we're taking time out
Mhm.
from our
Right.
jobs
Right.
to be here. We think it's that important.
A quick addendum, I do apologize for blowing in late. I have a small business working with farmers, making sure they can get stuff done they need to on their farms, and they're not so great about scheduling their emergencies ahead of time, so I apologize for that. A quick note to bring in the agriculture and the environment together. Again, so when you're a farmer, Mother Nature is number one. What the weather's doing is your number one factor in your success, your failure. I want to relate a quick story. You're familiar probably with the Dust Bowl. So the way that Dust Bowl happened was some people had some misunderstandings about how weather worked. Okay, so back in the day, I learned this recently. It turns out people believe that plowing caused rain. They literally believe that. They said
Plowing caused rain.
plowing
Yes.
caused rain. It sounds crazy, doesn't
Imagine
it?
that.
Yeah, but people believe it. And it's a really convenient belief too, because it just means you just go somewhere. I know it looks like a desert right now, but trust me, when you plow it, it's going to be fine.
I thought washing a car was
Yeah, so this was a belief that people had. It was something that was very politically expedient because it helped with settlement programs or passing all these homestead acts. So it doesn't look good if you pass a homestead act for a desert, but if you can tell people that if they go there and they start plowing that it's going to be fine, it was very politically expedient. It was also, the land speculators loved it because they could sell people these worthless tracts of desert and tell them it was going to be fine. You know what happened? The Dust Bowl is what happened. People lost everything. There were photos of just like farm equipment buried up to the wheel, like in dirt and dust. And DC didn't believe it was really happening. They said that's all a bunch of rumors and crazy out there, tall tales, until black clouds started coming in from Texas and blacking out the sky in Washington, D.C. That's when people finally realized it was real. So that was coming from a lot of folks having wishful thinking about how the weather works. That is, it's not a hypothetical where, we say if you don't understand how the climate works and if you have some myths going on that are politically expedient, it's actually going to work that way, it's going to cause some damage. It's going to cause some serious damage, and farmers are the folks who are going to get it the worst. And that's a really important constituency out here in North Carolina, especially for folks like Representative Hudson, who are really interested in kind of, making sure that they're serving those rural constituencies and that they look like they're serving those rural constituencies. That's something that's very key for them. So if part of the platform for rural constituencies is ignoring good information about the weather, that's not going to help in the long run. Climate change is real. Again, living down in Florida, we don't have one corn season down there. We have two corn seasons. You know why? It's because when it gets above 95 degrees, corn pollen becomes sterile. It's like a dude wandering around pants are too tight. Like it happens to corn too. It happens to corn too. When it gets above 95 degrees, the pollen just doesn't do anything. And so we can't grow corn throughout the summer. Now, part of the issue with climate change is that obviously you're going to have more hot days in that middle of the summer there. So North Carolina right now, it's a big corn belt. There's a lot of corn growing on. That's vital towards feeding our poultry and our hog industries that we have here. That's an important part of supporting our entire rural infrastructure, is being able to grow corn successfully all season long. Down in Florida, they don't do field corn because we can't grow it for a whole long season. That field corn needs a whole long season. We can get a little sweet corn in the spring and we can get a little sweet corn in the fall, but we can't do that whole long season. And that's why Florida doesn't have a livestock industry. So that's something that North Carolina is dependent on. And that's something that is very much at risk with the climate change. And so that's something that if you want to be serious about supporting rural communities and keeping those rural constituencies happy and keeping people in those small towns, climate change is your number one. So just thought I'd put that out there.
Thank you.
Everything, I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to speak.
We're done.
Well, then I guess we'll wrap up and finish once again. We really, really do appreciate your time, and we really hope that this stuff gets through to Mr. Hudson. And we get to see the changes and the support and opposition that we've asked for.
Well, we everything I get, obviously I'm just a middleman and I just kind of forward, and most answers to any specific questions are going to come from the DC office, and just kind of a little bit of an insight. If you get a letter or an email from Congressman Hudson's office, those are his words. Those are not some staffer who did that. Okay. Now they may have typed it up, but it's going to be on his notes and his answers, which means it may not be that day or the next day when you get an answer. There's going to be a little bit of a turnaround, and so just please understand, he's going to make sure. And then, of course, if we get in a bunch of calls and a bunch of stuff on the same issue, we're going to try and most effectively as possible answer those questions and those concerns. So I appreciate you guys coming. I love hearing from you. Congressman Hudson, represents everybody in the 8th district, regardless of their political party or what they do or where they live. And so he can't do that if he doesn't hear your concerns. And like I said, we were joking when we came in, for those of us who were late. The running joke that I get is I need 5 minutes with the congressman. And that's just physically impossible, and that's why he has a staff. The staff here in the district is nonpartisan. We do not get into the politics side of it. We are here to help constituents. My focus is on veterans because that's just my area of expertise. We do a lot of work helping people with Social Security, disability. We do a lot of work. If you need a passport all of a sudden and you can't, and you don't know what to do, we can get it back fairly quickly. And those type of things are to help you as best as possible. But if any policy questions and stuff like that, please understand that I'm just going to forward them to DC. And we'll get you an answer as soon as we possibly can.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.